Welcome to this channel, GCP Exam Ready. In this series, we're going through the Associate Cloud Engineering exam provided by Google. We've gone through some of the core concepts and we're going to have some practice in this video. Before we do that, I'd like to say big congratulations to this person who reached out to me and said that they passed their exam and that they are officially Associate Cloud Engineering certified, which means that they have not just worked super hard, but that they have practiced and they've put in so much effort. So congratulations to you. And it's really, really good to hear such positive feedback. I hope it's helping some other people as well. In this video, we're going to go through checkpoint 2, so we're going to practice a few more questions, and these are exam-style questions. They are questions mainly on storage and choosing the best solution. Let's have a go at the first one. You work for a company which analyzes large files using a workflow. These files do not need to be stored in a filing system, but they do need to be highly available. Choose the best storage system. A. In-memory cache, B. NFS, C. Block storage, and D. Object storage. The best way to answer these types of questions is through process of elimination. Which one do you know for certain that is the wrong answer? Let's get rid of that first. Well, we know that cache will not be an optimal solution here because you can't store cache and make it highly available. It means it's very volatile as well. Therefore, cache would not be helpful. So we're going to get rid of option A. B's NFS. NFS stands for Network File System, which is a type of system and it's a network that's used by GCP often. However, it stores things into files, and the question specifically says these files do not need to be stored in a filing system. If you were to choose B, which could be a solution, but if you were to choose B, then you would be going against what the question asks for specifically, and therefore you would lose this question. B is the wrong answer as well. We're left with two types. Thinking back to a video that I made about types of storage and when we use what type of storage, let's think back to what block storage is. Well, we know that block storage is like disks that are added onto your hardware to use them for actual storage. So you've got types of disks that are ephemeral or persistent disks, which means that your actual files are outside and they are in actual hardware. This means they're not highly available. So that's not a good option. We're left with D, object storage. We can double check that this is the right answer by thinking through it. We know that object storage stores files in buckets. We know that those files can be accessed in parts or they can be accessed in full at any time that we need them. But we also know that they're not stored in a filing system, they're just placed wherever there is space, which makes option D perfect for this question. We'll go with option D. Object storage is correct. It's really, really easy to get these types of questions correct if you work through and eliminate. If you're not sure, I do recommend flagging the question during the exam. Question 2 says you have just set up a network on your GCP console. Which of the following is correct? A. Your network is treated as a subdomain. B. Your network is treated as a cluster. C. Your network will be treated as a VPC. Or D. Your network will not work. Let's work through the same way as we did in question 1. You can pause the video to have a go as well. Let's go through the options that are definitely wrong. D. Your network will not work. Assuming you've set up the network correctly on the GCP console, there is no reason why it wouldn't work, and therefore this option is not correct. C. We'll skip that one for now because it might be an option. So might B. let's have a look at A. Your network is treated as a subdomain. That can't be right, because if we think back to what networks are, we had networks that connected virtual clouds and virtual private clouds together, which means that even though you have that, it doesn't make it a subdomain. Your network will be private unless you choose to give it to somebody, you give access to somebody else through, a different account or somebody who's a staff in your company. So it does not make it a subdomain. B, your network is treated as a cluster. Now that doesn't make sense in itself, because a cluster is a resource, and clusters are resources which you can place in networks, and therefore that can't be right. So the only option is C, your network will be treated as a VPC. That one's correct, because VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud, and a network which has all your cloud resources on it is treated as a virtual private cloud by Google, which means that nobody externally can access that unless you give permissions or you give an account which has permissions to access it. So we're going to go with C. Great. Let's go on to question 3. Question 3 says, you are working for a big financing firm and are tasked with storing transactions in a drive attached to a VM. This drive should allow random access to parts of files if needed. What type of storage is best for this functionality? A, cache, B, block storage, C, file storage, or D, object storage. Let's go through the process of elimination. Feel free to pause and have a go yourself. Well, we know that A cannot be right, because if you store cache, it's going to be stored in memory on your computer, which means that nobody else will have access to that cache. So option A is out. Option B, block storage, makes sense, because block storage is where you have ephemeral or persistent disks attached to your VM, and then you can access files that are uploaded to those. Option C, file storage, is a type of storage used in NFS, but it's not a drive attached to a VM, it's just storage, it's a cloud storage option. Option D is not the same, because option D says object storage, which is where you store files into buckets. So they're not attached to a drive, and that drive is not attached to a VM. So the correct option is B, block storage. Good. I think as we go through these, they're getting easier and easier to identify. We need to look for things to help us identify what type of storage we need to go for. Let's have a go at the next one. Which of these specialized services can handle both batch and stream flows? A, AutoML, B, Cloud Data Store, C, BigQuery, or D, Dataproc? This one's quite easy if we know what each of those are. It's true that AutoML is a specialized service, but it doesn't handle any batch or stream flows, because it handles the machine learning that you set in your notebooks. So that's not the correct option. B, Cloud Data Store, is not even a specialized service, so that's not the correct one. Option C, BigQuery. Well, BigQuery is a warehousing facility. It is specialized service, but it's a warehousing option instead of actual flows. The real answer here is Cloud Dataproc, because Dataproc can handle Spark, Hadoop, and batch and stream flows if need to be. It can handle workflows that are in different languages. It can handle workflows that are preset or workflows that need to be adjusted. So we'll go with option D, Cloud Dataproc. Correct. I hope this has been helpful in helping you understand what type of storage you need to use when. The best way to do this is through a process of elimination, so make sure you keep practicing. You will definitely be able to answer these questions as soon as you can identify keywords that associate with a specific type of storage. So if somebody says attached to a VM, a drive that is attached to a VM, you know it has to be block storage, because only block storage has ephemeral and persistent drives which can be attached to VMs. Look out for these little tips and hints to help you out on your exam. This has been GCP Exam Ready with some specifically interesting questions about storage. I hope this has been helpful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.